But I want to pivot here to a kind of a question that we don't usually get into, which is, what don't you think is going to show up at the CrossFit Games as far as movements or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I would venture a guess we're not going to see this year is probably an event that has everyone starting all at once. We've seen run event last year. It was a ruck run that had all the men and all the women, all the individual athletes starting at the same time. We saw it with Murph back in the day when we were in Still, California. And I personally really like those events. We see it with the swim too, because it gives an opportunity to sort of level the playing field. And sometimes, the women come in before the men, and that's like always kind of cool and exciting to see. But given the fact that, CrossFit is obviously doing everything in their power to keep athletes and staff as safe as humanly possible, I doubt that there's going to be an event that can encompass having so many athletes on the playing field at the same time. I mean, who knows how it's going to happen logistically at this point, but I would just, more than likely, that would be my guess, is we're probably going to stagger the heats and the men and the women and even the staff all over the place to make sure that we're not crowding one place with too many people. But I doubt that would happen this year.
Chase, what do you think?
It's one thing I don't think we will see is probably, we actually didn't see it last year in 2019, but it's that unique, weird, rogue element. We've seen burden runs at the Pig, and then the Pig 2.0 in 2015, those large drum snails, or the thing that they had to drag. I think it was a slug 2 years ago.
Yeah.
To that point, though, is I'm actually okay if they don't, because for me, if we're stripping things down to the way it used to be, they don't need to get cute this year, right? And I don't want them to. I just want it to be, 30 athletes, men and women. They're throwing down to find who the fittest on earth is, and we don't need to get cute. Let's just make them work their asses off for a couple of days and see who comes out on top.
Well, if CrossFit is proven one thing over and over again, it's that you don't need a heck of a whole lot in order to make it hurt. And so I tend to agree with you, both of you, Niki and Chase. Logistically, it might be a little more challenging to have 60 athletes on the starting line at one point and maintain social distancing or other requirements that are going to be out there. I'm going to throw a couple of other ones out there that I thought of as number one. I don't think we'll have a rope climb. Just given the rig requirements that you need to put up in order to do that, and then you need the crash mats. That is a lot more to bring logistically from Ohio that Rogue would have to truck out. And, you're going to need a big Zeus rig probably to assemble that. And, how many trucks that's going to end up becoming makes that a little more challenging. You had crash mats. And, I think there's a lot of ways of testing that, maybe testing that type of fitness level. It could be done with a lot of other things. Nonetheless, that's one. And the second one, a little bit odd that I would say this, but given the proximity to the ocean, but I don't think there's going to be a beach event. I say this just out of logistics. They're already going through so many hoops and hurdles in order to put on an event here at the CrossFit Games, and the busing of them out there and the assembling of them, and also working with either state or local beaches, which may have various stages of closure and requirements set up on them. I think this is another sort of permit and set of permissions that they would need that adds to the layer of complexity here. I could see that not happening. Now, if there was a location for them to use a pool, that they might have to do. And that could be a little bit easier to pull off, because it could be a private pool or a facility of some kind, or a high school where everybody's out and they could be using that kind of facility. I think that those all are things between the three of us that are, something that, hey, you know what? It is classic CrossFit. You don't need a whole lot in order to make it hurt and to make it a complete test of fitness. You got running, you got weights, you got some pulling, you got some pushing, and you do that a whole bunch of times, and it's going to be a pretty nasty combination, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.